Hello, and welcome to the January 4th bug triage meeting for Operator SDK, first meeting of the new year. We got a bunch of stuff to get through, so let's go ahead and get to it. From the top, there we go. Reducing scope of Ansible operators from cluster to namespace. So this guy had an Ansible operator that was on a super old version of Operator SDK, and he migrated it to a 1.0 version, and it blew up. Now, I'm not the most familiar with the Ansible operator, but it's a pretty big version jump. And I don't know of any reason they shouldn't support the namespace scope.
Can you show the error?
I'm sorry, the what?
The error.
The error?
Yeah.
So it looks like his RBAC's wrong, although it's listing something in the cluster scope, which it shouldn't be doing to begin with, assuming that's one of his CRD types.
I think that it may be related to the fact of when we create the project in the config director, it's scaffold some files, the permissions, the service account. So maybe when we run the full namespace for when the operator will be created, the service account and everything. So maybe it's something in the configuration that the user is doing that's not okay.
So I'm not exactly 100% familiar with the migration instructions. Is this something like that they have to do, or is this something that's performed automatically?
By default, I understand that the problem is by default before 1.0 layout. By default, the operators was namespace scoped. So the operator had permission to just in one namespace. Then with the new layout and the integration with Kube Builder, now they are by the full cluster scope. So the problem here, I understand that is the user is trying to change the scope to a namespace one. However, he's struggling to activities go.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that is support, and if I would try to solve this, I would create a POC, take the test data Ansible main cache example in SDK repo, and then make the configuration to work as namespace and provide it. I doesn't know if we have a good documentation. I believe that we have an issue to make a documentation for Ansible and how explain how to change the operator scope. I think now we have just for Go. So also would be nice if who you work on it is issue, document the steps properly.
So yeah, basically it sounds like there is a disconnect between what we say to do and what there needs to be done for migrating from a pre to post 1.0 Ansible operator projects. Or there's a bug such that there is no, like, you can't have certain resources that are cluster scoped be watched by or listed by a namespace scope and Ansible operator. So I think there needs to be an investigation into like where this is coming from. So starting from like the watches file and registration of an API type. Why is this happening? So I think this needs a needs information label.
I'm gonna ask him if he can post a link to his operator.
Yeah, that might be helpful.
I put in the chat the issue for the document the specific steps for Ansible. I think it's just that is missing, you know, because I don't think it has relation with the migration. The problem is before was namespace scoped, then now it's cluster scoped, and the user wants to change. I think he put that. When I try to change the scope to namespace, I see the error. So the problem is the steps to change the scope of the operator. Just that.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he just missed something because like this shouldn't be happening. Like not just the error, but like the operator should not be attempting to list something and at the cluster scope. So I imagine, yeah, he just missed something somewhere in the configuration, like the watches file.
Well, do we know that?
Well, no, I'm just guessing.
Yeah, so I'm saying we need to make sure that this isn't something on our end as well. Just because I think this is all the migration guide says to do for Ansible is change the CRD and RBAC to namespace scope. And yeah, maybe like this particular API is like a cluster scope one only. I'm not really sure. It doesn't look like it because it looks like they changed their CRD.
I put the correct issue in this channel. I put one wrong before. We have an issue to document the steps for Ansible and the steps for Helm. We don't have now the steps.
Okay, so do we want to link these issues to this person? Say, so, you know, we're aware that this needs help. We're currently working on this. Could you, you know, show us your operator? Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think it was nice ask what to change the user page.
Well,
ago.
I would rather respond with something specific to this person's issue, not like we're working on the migration docs. Like we can, you know, eventually help you. We should just ask to see their operator code right now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't link either of these issues.
If I was the person that should get this one, my first step would try to do that. Try to do a test, you know, to do a proof of concept project. Just to check the steps required. They explain for the user, then update the document, maybe close the other one, and then ask.
Do you want to?
Steps.
Do you want to take this one on, Camilla? Is that what you're saying?
I can take this one. I can take.
And put in the backlog.
Yeah.
Anything else on that one? Categories validation works on a host, not in a container. So they
Right. I was following up with this before the holidays. This looks like a library bug, if a bug at all. So that's being followed up in the relevant library in operator registry. And if there's anything that we need to do in the SDK, then this issue can track that. But We can probably leave this alone and throw it in the backlog for now.
You mean one of the OLM libraries we use?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there, yep, got it. Just wanted to see if the linked issue had been linked. So that's good, I think, for this one. Using secrets in a CR spec. Creates a database. For each CR. This seems like a, oh, it's an Ansible. I don't know how to do this in Ansible.
I think the right answer here is probably they should not reference clear text stuff in the CR spec. They should have a secret ref. And if there isn't a secret ref specified and they want to, have a default, then their operator would need to know to go create the secret and link things up. But I think overall the answer is you shouldn't have clear text secrets in the CR spec, probably.
I imagine there's probably some core kube documentation about this sort of thing that would be helpful.
Maybe.
I mean, that seems pretty standard operating procedure to me, right? Like that's just how you use secrets.
Yes.
I
don't know if there's much in the way of, I'm sure there's documentation about here's what secrets are and how to use them. I don't know if there's a lot in the way of, if you're building an operator and you need your secrets to or you need your operator CRs to reference secrets, here's how to do it. There might not be much of the latter.
I mean, that's probably true, but like to me, this seems just like normal kube stuff.
Yeah.
I can take this on and talk to this guy about this. Just gonna throw in the backlog. Yeah, I'll respond with what we just said, and hopefully that'll solve his problem. Unable to inject the time in my status. When I tried adding time UTC to my field, this looks, oh no, they're doing this CR. Time. But why should it be?
So if you're using time.time directly, then in one of your kinds, then it probably won't work for the pretty clear reason given by this error. So I suggested using the meta v1 time, which wraps it and adds a deep copy method.
Okay, cool. Is there anything more that needs to be done for this then?
No, probably put that in the backlog.
Would you mind if I assigned you to this, Eric, just to make sure it doesn't?
Sure.
Anything else on this one? How to make R delete return until the resource is deleted. That doesn't really seem to be how this is supposed to work. They want this to like delete a resource from within the within their controller.
Sounds like they just want r.client.delete to block until it's actually gone, which I don't know if that's possible.
But I'm saying, like, isn't that a bad thing to want? You shouldn't do that.
Depends, probably. I think we probably have a couple of cases in SDK, like in the SDK CLI, where we do that. I don't.
But that's different. I'm saying,
Yeah.
because they're talking about client, I assume they're doing this from inside a reconciliation loop with a controller.
Yeah, I think there's probably, yeah, I would say in general, it's not a good idea. There might be, I think what you would probably want to do is issue the delete and then basically at the top of your reconciliation loop, you know, check if the thing is still there. And at some point, you know, like if it's still there, then you just re-reconcile and you just wait until it's gone. And then eventually it's gone and your logic can run. It's probably, that's like theoretically the quote unquote best practice way of handling it. There's probably lots of people that are blocking. And I think that probably the way to do that, if you really want to, is to issue the delete command and then enter a wait loop, doing a get until you get a 404 or whatever.
The problem with that is I imagine it would be really easy to hang your controller.
Oh yeah, definitely. Not saying it's good. I'm just saying here's how you would do it if you really, really, really want to. There's also, isn't there like, and I don't know exactly how this works. I've never gotten it to work the way that I thought it sounded like it should, but there's ways to set, I think it's an annotation or something in the metadata, or maybe on the, I think maybe it's on the owner reference that's like a deletion wait logic thing. I don't know if that has anything to do with calling delete and having that block though. But there's something with like wait for deletion, true or false or something.
As an annotation in the object itself?
I think it was on an owner reference. But it might just have to do with how parents and how the garbage collector works. So maybe that doesn't help in this situation.
Would you mind just responding and saying that?
I'll say the first part about the best practice, and then I'll maybe say, if you really, really, really want to, which we don't recommend, here's how you could do it. And I'll close it.
Okay.
So yeah, you can assign it to me.
It's Joe, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I guess we'll go ahead and stick this in the backlog for the hot second it continues to exist. Anything else on this one? When we click on the create documentation issue, the documentation label is not set. The what? This is on the docs website?
Okay, when you go in the docs website, you have create documentation issue. And then the label is not added, just to see if it's possible. Add the label, like come back there. You can try just, if you come back in the documentation, the website, and click on create documentation issue. Then we are not putting the type, do you know, documentation, blah, blah, blah. So it would be a suggestion. If possible, we use the label kind documentation.
So all this really is just a link, right? I don't know how fancy you can get with just
and also the other labels, like the full template is not used, like if it's Helm, if it's Ansible, if it's blah blah blah. You probably will be able to do that, but not the others, because you have different permissions. You are part of the
oh, right.
If you go in the repo and click on in new issue, for example, you see that we have templates.
Yeah, I know the templates you're talking about, but I'm saying I don't know how to.
Then it was more like a niche thing, like low project. If it would be possible to use the template, use the labels, kind of documentation, things like. But it's just a niche. It's not really important. I think so.
If it's accessible via URL queries, which it looks like it might be, then it should be fairly trivial just to change that link. Assuming it's a template. But I think that's like the feature request thing, not the label. Although it says we have a labels one. What is the actual label called? Kind of documentation. Let's try a simpler one.
Or maybe just put the issue template. I doesn't know what is.
Yeah, I could figure out. So what exactly we want to do? We want to add the documentation label to it.
Yeah, I thought input the documentation label to be easier. So, but it's a need, it's not a priority. So.
Okay, so what do we want to do with this issue then?
Something fancy.
I'm sorry?
Something fancy, not not really something.
I don't understand. So is this something we want to leave out as like a help wanted kind of thing? Because it seems pretty easy.
Yeah, I think so. I think if someone would like to work really low priority.
Oh wow, it's raining. Sorry. I was wondering what that noise was. I look outside, there's water falling from the sky. And what, just throw this in the backlog or something?
Yeah, for me it's fine.
Are we doing that still? I thought we were trying to not have things in the backlog that weren't assigned to people. Is that, am I right on that? Maybe not. Okay. Doc and the Operator SDK, the difference between KubeBuilder and Operator SDK. So this is just, you want to have a page explaining because everybody seems to ask this.
It's just a suggestion like.
Wait, what's the title of this issue?
Doc and the Operator.
Can't we just reopen the 1758?
No, it's closed. In the 17 we in the 7 inches one we explained and you put this link with the documentation. So that one was just a suggestion, like for we put the information in the website docs. since it is a common question,
Right.
if it's
But
possible.
it would probably be better to direct people to this one because there's a comprehensive response. And I don't think the new issue that you created adds much extra information, does it?
The issue is like a few.
Label.
It's just for re-adding the website docs, the information. After Joe's answer, then you'll create a blog post which has a lot of info. If you click on this link,
yeah,
then it has all difference and blah blah blah. So maybe I doesn't know if you folks think that it would be nice, like edit this info, linking the website docs. Like what is the difference in the FAQ, or I doesn't know.
All right, I guess it's okay to keep this one open. I was just trying to, can you add a duplicates label to 1758? Or sorry, can you add a duplicates label to that issue? Just because it does duplicate the old one. And I would move this into, I think this is pretty small, so we could probably throw this into like 1.5.
So
yeah, this would probably be good for FAQ. What do you think, Camilla?
I think it's fine. I think, yeah, I doesn't know the best place, but I think it maybe would be nice. We put in the website.
So that is what we want to do. Do we want to have a section or just link to this page?
Yeah, we could put like in the fact just a question, put the common question, what is the difference, blah, 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 and then as answer, because I think it has a fact section with the other questions in the website documents.
We do?
I think so, let's see.
This part?
No, the last, yes, see the fact. Maybe.
Yeah.
What is the difference? I think that it's a nice place.
I would even put it right at the top, like right under the control runtime FAQ.
Okay. So is that the actionable part of this issue then?
Yeah, I would say so.
Do you think that would be nice to put like see here that link and then also more information in the original issue or not? What do you think, Ed?
Is
the
actually
link it's enough.
Is the content in the old issue, is that outdated at all? Like, is that discussing things pre Builder integration? So I do think it's still at least parts of this are still relevant given what I'm reading right now. Parts of it aren't, but I think for historical context, it's still important to add. So I would say here's a link to this blog post discussing the differences now. And here is a link discussing things for pre 1.0, the differences pre 1.0.
So you want to have a link to both this blog post and 1758?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, how does that sound? To do, add a section to the top of the FAQ docs that answers the question, what's the difference between operator, SDK and Kube Builder, include a link to the blog post, which discusses the current 1.0 or post 1.0 differences, and the issue, which discusses pre 1.0 differences. And does that sound fine?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to do this? I'll take care of it then. Remind me again, because I have not thought about this for 2.5 weeks, and it didn't make much sense to me, even though we talked about it a whole bunch. What's the schedule for the releases we're on now?
Right. Yeah, it is a little confusing given what is happening upstream. But the idea was we will punt on releasing 1.4 until controller runtime 0.80 is released with Kubernetes 120, and Kube Builder gets updated with that.
And that hasn't happened yet, the upstream release?
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But I'm hoping that it will happen next week. I have a feeling it won't happen this week just because it's the first week back from the holidays and things tend to move slower. I still will be pushing for it.
So are we working on things and committing them normally, and they're just going to get included in 1.4, which is going to get cut as soon as possible?
Yeah.
And then once that happens, when are we going to have the next release planning meeting? I don't remember what that's called.
So I would like to just keep the same grooming meeting cadence, just because we could still plan for the next release with the current set of issues. But what we originally said before the holidays was, let's not add anything to the 1.4 milestone and plan for the 1.5 milestone for the first grooming meeting after the holidays.
Okay. And when is that scheduled for? Is that this week?
Let me look. It is scheduled for next Wednesday.
Okay. And that's when we're going to just talk about stuff on the 1.5 milestone.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Anything else on this one? Did I lose my? There we go. I did type the thing, right? Yeah. Okay. GPG GPG rectifications fail.
So actually, I know what the problem is here, or at least I think I do. So recently we switched our release process such that the releases are automated mostly. And that means that Travis, or our CI system in general, has control over the GPG key used to sign the release binaries. And I think the release key was either not propagated to the default key server yet, or it wasn't added at all, which is on me. So I need to see what happened there. And if it has not been added to the correct key servers, which clearly it hasn't, then I need to upload these keys.
Do you have the keys?
I do.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. And then also I need to figure out a safe place to put the master key.
Wait, I thought you said this used to be not automated and is automated now?
Yeah.
But if the release is now generated automatic, oh, it's signed with the key that you have a copy of. It's not generating the keys automatically and signing them?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a LastPass?
No. I was thinking also maybe Keybase or something. But we can, that's a separate issue from this, and we can have a conversation about that offline. But that's something that needs to happen ASAP. And I would even say that this is a release blocker.
You would?
Yeah. Unless anybody objects.
I mean, we can't.
It's like you can't really kind of release without having the keys or the binaries be verifiable.
So currently 1.3 is not signed correctly.
So it is signed correctly. It's just that
the keys on the server.
Public key is not public yet and distributed to the correct key servers.
Yeah, this seems pretty important.
Yeah, and you're gonna send that to me.
And do we want to put this in 1.4?
I would actually leave this on outside of milestone, so this gets brought up every time we do triage if it's not done by next week or the following.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Cluster role creation steps. User service account cannot create resource config map, an API group blank, and a namespace. My app DB. Off the top of my head, is there actually a blank API group?
Yeah, it's
Isn't the default one called default?
No,
it's like core.
Yeah, it's core, but it will be empty in RBAC. What version of the Operator SDK are they using? Okay, it's 1.2. So yeah, they basically need to look at the Go scaffold or the like an example operator, or they can rescaffold the project and copy over the RBAC from there. Looks like they responded at the bottom. Okay, so it looks like this is turned into a customized question. So they aren't setting the namespace properly. Okay. I can follow up on this. I'm pretty sure I know what the issue is.
Okay. I'm gonna assign it to you and throw it in the backlog then.
Yeah, and add triage support.
Sorry, anything else on that one?
No.
Ansible, use customize with CSV resources.
So I just closed this one. So the meat of this one is they are asking for the SDK to allow customize to be run on a CSV manifest before the Operator SDK generate bundle command reads it. Recently, there was an addition, which got into 1.3, that allows CSVs to be passed in through standard in. So you can actually run a CSV through customize first before passing it to the generate bundle command.
How is this specific to Ansible?
It's not, it just happened to be for an Ansible based operator.
Oh. Well, maybe someday the docs will load.
It's the last paragraph in that section above.
Which section?
Keep scrolling up. Yeah. Yeah, that section. The last paragraph in that section.
Neat. So not anything else on this one. Make bundle generates the wrong CSV for Ansible operator.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening here because for Ansible and Helm operators, these the owned custom resource definitions should not be overwritten at all. So I'll have to follow up and investigate this. You can assign this to me.
I think it was not supportable. Was supportable before 1.0?
Well,
It's
technically, what's that?
No, I noted I made a mistake. The version 0.17 is operator lifecycle management. Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
Do we want to put this in 1.5?
Sure. Yeah. And then can you put, let's see here, needs information.
Anything else on this one? Helm operator, how to not update all deployed CR instances at once. When the charter Helm operator is updated, deploying the Helm operator with this updated chart will trigger an update to all of the CR instances at once.
I read through this earlier this morning. It's not something that I think we should do. I feel like this is pretty much how all operators work. If you update an operator that works with the same API versions, it's going to update everything at once.
The alternative
Unless-
actually sounds kind of scary because,
Yeah.
like, okay, let's say you do throttle it. I can, go around the back end and like manually interact with those instances and like do weird stuff.
Right, like what if it's throttled, but then you want to go change something else about it? Does it then get reconciled immediately? Like it seems like it opens up a huge can of worms that seems like it'd be really hard to get right. Yeah, I almost want to I don't know exactly how to say no. If anybody has good ideas, that'd be great, but I want to say no. I think like the concern about the image tag, like that's not a big one because the node pulls the image. So if there's like, 4 or 5 pods running with that image on the same node, all the pods are going to share it. So you only pull at most, if you have n nodes, you'll pull n times for that image, which is not that big of a deal. That kind of thing happens all the time. And then for the second problem, I feel like that's more of a CI/CD, like you need to test this prior to deploying it to production. And I realize they say some of the issues are found after the first actual deployment to production, but I mean, maybe that just means the staging environment they have set up isn't quite representative of what their production environment is.
Yeah, these
Maybe I'm
seem
being
like
flippant.
fundamental scalability problems that aren't related to, like, you shouldn't be solving this at the operator level.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it.
Is there any way to blue-green deploy an operator? Like you could.
OLM does that to an extent. So it'll install an upgrade and then uninstall the lower version, I believe.
But it's I think that really only is, like, I don't think you ever have, OLM I don't think supports blue-green in the sense that only some of the CRs are being handled by the new operator and some of them by the old. There'd probably be ways of doing that, but it'd get pretty weird, right? Like one way could be you have a separate namespace and you set up your operators to be watching specific namespaces, but that's not quite blue-green, right? Because you kind of want to just carve off a chunk of your existing production ones and you just keep on going. There's probably a way that you can like add some annotations to your CRs and then have your operator know about those annotations. That would probably be a way of doing it. It's kind of like the ingress class, right? Like that's how ingresses work.
There's also a proposal for like a pause on reconciliation annotation a while back that I think we've reconsidered recently and kind of want to do something with. And that could potentially help solve this if you just like pause reconciliation on half of your CRs or something. But I think it's not a great solution.
You mean an annotation on the CR spec or an annotation on the CR instances?
On the CR instances. So I guess in the context of this, I would say, yeah, this isn't something home operator will deal with because these are like things that shouldn't be dealt with on the operator level. Maybe these other things could help you deal with them. And Joe, if you want to respond to this and list those things, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do we want to backlog this or?
Probably, and put a triage support label on here.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Anything else on this? I think that's it. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about?
I have one moment. We released the new version of SDK where I believe that we added the option to V3 plugin, if I'm not wrong, but we don't have the migration guide. So we have a pull request open for update the upstream docs with the steps, giving more than one option to do that. If the user would like to get all chains or not, to do manually or not. So I would like to ask a help in the review, if you see folks that has a better way to describe that as well, or if you have a better idea, it would be great. Get your thoughts and your help. I put in the chat the link. Hello, too much silence. Hi, everybody alive.
I think that's it. Were those all the issues?
Sorry, I was talking, but I was muted. Haha. If these are breaking changes in Kube Builder, doesn't that mean they're breaking changes in us? And if they're breaking changes in us, doesn't that necessitate a major revision?
No, they're in a different plugin, so you can still use the existing plugin code. It's a little difficult to talk about the plugin thing in the context of a project, I guess, from a user's perspective. But basically, all the code that you scaffolded with Operator SDK 1.2 will continue to work, and you can add new APIs and webhooks and whatnot. No problem. And if you use Operator SDK 1.3, then a different set of code with these breaking changes will be scaffolded. But because the old code will continue to work with the Operator SDK 1.3 binary, there are no breaking changes.
Another way of saying that is when you initialize a project, that's kind of how your project gets baked. And so in 1.2, it was initialized by default with plugin version 2, and in 1.3, it'll be initialized with project version 3. And basically we're going to say, starting with 1.0, we supported project version 2 until we get to 2.0. Starting with 1.3, we're supporting both project version 2 and plugin version 2 and plugin version 3 until we get to 2.0. So we'll never remove support for a plugin until we get to 2.0.
So then what do we need to change in our docs?
Actually, the link for upstream documents.
Oh,
in our docs, we can put the steps replicated, or I believe that the better way is like after we have the documentation upstream, we just link to the users, and keep it all centralized in one place. So if someone has a project that was built, initialized, as Joe and Jarek explained, with the plugin V2, and you'd like to take advantage of the change made for V3, the things that has for V3, then we need to follow these steps. Is it make sense? So much silence again. My God, what's happening?
It's just because we're still very tired from our week off. Probably.
I agree.
Well, I think we're at time anyway.
We're supposed to have a monthly meeting on Wednesday, and currently there's nothing on the agenda. So maybe if you want to talk about this, that'd be a good place to bring it up again. But yeah, my brain's still kind of mud.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be worthwhile explaining the changes in the monthly meeting and how the plugin changes will work going forward.
Yeah, it's just to clarify, I'm asking a help from the community and from can help for the maintainers for we upgrade the migration steps in the upstream. Just that, review the pull request, just to clarify. And to get your feedback and inputs, things like that.
I'm also not very familiar with KubeBuilder v3. If it just came out as part of 1.3, I don't think I've ever looked at it or used it or thought about it yet. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. I'm gonna go ahead and end the meeting.